All right, guys, the live stream is going to begin in about 2.5 minutes. Let us everybody know where you're coming in from for the Control Freak Wednesday. We'll be on in about 2 minutes. Hey guys, Terrence here from Neptune Systems, and I'm here with another Control Freak Wednesday. We're trying to get these as regular as we can, trying to get people to show off their aquariums with all of their Neptune Systems Apex gear. Welcome to all you guys from all around the world. So exciting to see people from all the way from London to Kentucky to Southern California, Canada, Jacksonville, Florida, all over the place. Thank you for joining us. We do these every other week if we have somebody. Hopefully we have a person lined up for 2 weeks from now, which would be the 27th. So hopefully we will have something then with another Control Freak Wednesday. But today we've got a really good one in store for you. We got another person from out in Miami, a guy that's been doing this forever. I mean, forever. I mean, I barely had hair on my mustache when this guy started reef keeping. So definitely a really cool show that we're gonna have today. Please make it interactive. So I will be looking at your comments and trying to get them across. If you want to see something in the tank, you have a question you want answered about how he's doing something. At any time, please come across in the comments with, and give me those questions so that I can pass them along and we can get those things answered. Definitely, love doing these things. If you know somebody who has a great reef tank that has an Apex and you'd like to see them featured on Control Freak Wednesday, make sure that let us know. Give us a shout. Give us a private message out on our Facebook group, and I'd love to have them on. So if you know somebody, or if your tank is what you think is hot stuff, right? Then definitely join us for one of these. But you know what? We're here to see one thing and one thing only, and that's a great reef tank. Today we've got Eddie Soler from Miami, Florida, and I'm going to bring him on here, and we're going to say hi. Let's see. Oh, yeah. Eddie, how's it going, man?
How you doing, guys?
All right. So,
thanks for having me.
Awesome. So, Eddie, you're out in Miami, huh?
I am now, yes.
All sheltered in place out there?
Absolutely.
And how's that been for you? You guys faring okay out in Miami with the whole shelter in place? You're not going too stir crazy?
Well, unfortunately, Miami-Dade County is one of the worst in the state. The rest of the state is opened up for the most part, except for I think Dade County and Broward, which is Fort Lauderdale.
Okay.
So I guess we haven't been behaving.
Yeah, you guys, you know how it is out there with all your hanging chads too, right?
Yeah.
But anyway, reef tank wise, at least you have that at home to keep you busy while you're sheltering in place. And so are a ton of other people. I mean, there are a lot of people buying reef gear right now. It's crazy.
Yep.
So have you bought anything new? Any new fish? Any new corals? Anything new recently?
Yes, I have bought a few corals. The fraggers can't do anything with their stuff because there's usually, at least in Florida, there's a frag swap every couple of weeks.
Right.
So these guys are going as stir crazy as everybody else. So yes, I've bought a few things online and some local.
All right.
So yeah, there's a lot of frags out there right now.
So Eddie the Aquaman, right? So it's
Aquaman E.
Aquaman E. Been around forever in this hobby. When was your first saltwater aquarium? Forget about the guppies. When was the first saltwater aquarium?
Yeah, after the guppies and the fairy angels freshwater, it was I'd say it was around 83, 84.
Get out. 84?
Yes, I was in my early 20s.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. So what were you keeping? I mean, what was like the thing that when you finally got it, you're like, oh man, I finally reached the holy grail of my reef keeping in 1984.
Yeah, back then it was not reef keeping; it was just a marine aquarium.
Yes,
basically we had
it was a saltwater tank.
Skeletons. Yeah, we had dead coral skeletons, which were easily available around here because we had the keys down the street.
Right.
So you would buy these dead coral skeletons, you would put them in your tank, under gravel filter with crushed coral at the bottom.
Right.
And then every week you'd have to take those because they would look ugly if they turned brown with algae. So you had to take them to the bathtub, bleach them, rinse them, then put them back nice and white into your tank again. That's how it was.
Wow. And so obviously not too many like inverts, right? Mostly just fish.
Yeah. They were all. Today you have fish only live rock. Back then it was fish only dead rock.
So yeah, no, there's no doubt. And my journey started, believe it or not, also with a big hiatus in between, but 1984 also. Okay. Buddy of mine had somebody had given him a 60-gallon hex in a pagoda bamboo stand, right? And his mom was a little particular, so he couldn't have it at home and had no place to put it. And so I asked my mom, right, and I was 16 at the time, and I said, hey, and she's like, yeah, put it in the living room. Because my mom was ultra cool about stuff like that. And so we did, and we started filling it with, the regular stuff. But then that wasn't enough. We had the Pacific Ocean right there, right? And so we'd go down with ice chests down to the tide pools, and we would grab all kinds of inverts and stuff and throw them into the tank, and they'd live, and they lived for quite a while. I mean, all the anemones and stuff bleached out, but it's definitely fun times. I mean, when you go to Home Depot to get your lighting for your aquarium, right? And you're like wire netting, stuff together and getting shocked and everything. So it was good times back then. When did you have your first like corals?
Well, even back then, well, not long after that, the internet didn't exist, so we would get all our education from magazines that would come in. There was one called, I think, the Reef magazine or Reef Aquarium magazine or something like that, and I would wait for that thing every month. I would literally sit outside waiting for the mailbox,
so
or
funny,
the mailman to come in around the time of the month that it would get there.
Right.
And I have to give kudos to a guy that I know, Julian Sprung.
Of course.
I started reading him back then, and his reef notes and stuff. And to answer your question, Julian was one of the first ones to bring in the Berlin method,
right,
into the States. I think he brought it in from Germany. Basically the Berlin method was live rock, protein skimmer, and I think Kalkwasser was part of that as well.
Okay.
So once we started doing all of that, then we started being able to keep leather corals, coat corals, that kind of thing. So those were my first corals.
It's so amazing, probably too, right? This is the area when I skipped that section, right? Because after 1985, I went off to college and took down the tank, and wish I still had that tank, by the way. But and then I skipped all of that, and I didn't come back until like 2008, right? So I had a huge hiatus. So unfortunately, I wasn't part of that whole evolution. But that had to be so fun to see what how things change and all the stuff, the new things, the new gear, everything.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, the protein skimmers were basically made of this. Now protein skimmers are made of this clear PVC. The first protein skimmer I had was basically an acrylic tube that was like a beige color,
Right.
and only maybe the neck was the only thing that was clear, so you could see the bubbles.
Right.
And then there was no such thing as a Venturi pump. It was literally an air pump with a wood stone.
Oh, that's right, a wood stone.
And
Yeah.
that would be what would create your bubbles.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
for sure.
And again, I took a hiatus as well in the late '90s to maybe 2006 or so.
Okay.
And we were already fragging leather corals and coal corals and stuff like that. We were cutting up the head of the leather and putting them on rocks, and we were able to
like toothpicks and rubber bands and all of that stuff. Yeah.
But then my goodness, come back to 2006 or so, SPS. Woo,
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. I fell in love immediately with SPS again.
Yeah, I mean,
with the reef tanks again. Yeah,
you can start keeping it, and that's I think that was right when there's a real renaissance in the those hard corals, the SPS corals specifically, in the mid to late 2000s, where it wasn't just about, hey, I could keep it alive. It was like they actually had some color too. You started to get the colors coming in, and
I think one of the breakthroughs was the acknowledgement of nutrients and nutrient control in the tanks, because we didn't measure phosphates or nitrates. You didn't do any of that, and that's what you need to keep a lot of these other corals alive.
Yeah, the water was clear, so it must be good, right?
Yeah, it was dirty. It was dirty as heck.
Right. Well, you got a lot of friends on here. I just want to let you know they're all giving you a lot of crap here, man. So good old your friend Henry says, yeah, you started in 1943. Is when you started selling corals, back then, right after the Great Depression. So there's lots of stuff, but there are kudos out here. Good old Cuban reefer, your buddy who likes to go with his pseudonym all the time, says Aquaman, his tank is awesome. Okay.
Thank you.
So definitely, you've got a lot of people here. Richard Back is on here giving you props too, and so definitely interested in all of that. So also, you were really active in the kind of club scene too, right? You're big with Florida Marine Aquarium Society, right?
Absolutely.
So you had leadership roles there?
I was president. I think the first time I was president was like in 2011, 2010, something like that. And when that club decided they wanted to do a MACNA,
right?
They appointed me the committee chairman for the MACNA.
Well, you did.
So we held
insane.
Insane job. That was a nice show, wasn't it?
It was, to date, it was the best one I've been to yet. I say it all the time. I say it everywhere. Every time I tell all the MASNA people, I'm like, when are you guys going to do something that will definitely compare to what happened in Miami? Because I think when I went to Miami, I don't know, maybe it was my second or third, MACNA I've been to. The first one I went to was in Iowa, and then I think after that was it in Denver. I can't remember, but anyway, and then I went to Miami, and I was like, whoa, these guys know how to do it, man. Look at this outdoor soiree and this and that, and I was like, whoa.
We had a very good group of people. The board was very cohesive. Everybody worked really hard. We're volunteers.
Yeah.
And it took us 2 years to get that thing done. It was a lot of work. I suppose the last 6 months were horrendous. We were on calls every single night, and conference calls, and meeting every Saturday or Sunday in somebody's house. It was crazy.
So whenever I get some of these people on our live streams, I always gotta put them out there because it's funny. So Russ Lowe, I don't know a Russ Lowe, but he says, please stop chatting. Need products.
I agree.
People like to know who the Reefkeepers are, though, man. They see you around and stuff, and you deserve the credit on things like the the MACNA thing, and people get a little warm up to you. So I tell you what, we'll take his cue there, however blunt it was, And let's start talking about your aquarium just briefly first, and then I'll have you flip the camera around. So briefly, the tank that you have now, give us just the top-down 1-minute summary of what it is.
This is a custom-made Reef Savvy by one of our Florida guys here, Felix Bordon. Felix Bordon. Felix and I have known each other for a number of years, and and it took him a year to make this thing. But it's custom made because at the other house that I lived in, I only had 5 feet.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, it's a 5 foot by 30 inches front to back and 24 inches tall. And everybody likes his ghost overflow thing. I didn't do that.
Okay.
I'm an old schooler.
Right.
I didn't want my tank a foot and a half away from the wall.
Oh, get out of here! Mine's not a foot and a half away from the wall. Get out of here.
So and then when he was going to put the overflow in it, he was going to make it out of acrylic. I said no, I want glass because if I ever decide that I want to scrape it, I want to have the opportunity, the ability to do so. So
I got you.
Those are a few of the things that I did to it myself. Then he did the corners, which you can't scrape the silicone.
We got to talk about this. The armored corners are
amazing,
dude. It is a revolution in an aquarium, and
it's amazing.
It is amazing. I clean, like I said, I have 32 inches on one side, 32 on the other, 96 across the front, and it takes me less than 5 minutes because I can just slam that scraper right into the.
You don't have to worry.
You don't worry.
You don't have to worry about the
scrape,
silicone.
slam.
Yep.
So
right.
Armored seams, great, awesome.
Okay. Well, it's a Reef Savvy. Then above, I've got. Everybody knows me as the old schooler. I had metal halides up until probably last August, a little bit before. So I now have 2 radions there and T5s.
Awesome.
That's my lighting.
Yeah, hybrid. Okay.
In the bottom, I've got a.
We don't have to go through everything. Let's do it on the camera, okay? How about that?
Okay.
Why don't you flip the camera around? I'll put us on the other view here, and we can see what's going on and see what everybody's come here for to take a look at. By the way, we've got about 80 people on the live stream now, buddy. They all want to see your stuff, man. So
you told me your average was about 30.
Yeah, we usually do about anywhere from 30 to 60 on one of these type. We do pushing about 200 on the regular Let's Talk Reef ones. But You're definitely bringing some people in, so that's awesome. Oh man, look at that with the filter and everything. How beautiful is that? Oh.
Right. So this is obviously the full backing up a little bit, full tank view.
So when did you start this tank?
Well, I've had the SPS tank since approximately 2006. I started with a 60-gallon. From there, I went to a 120. Then I bought a tank from a friend of mine that was these exact dimensions because that was the exact dimensions that fit my wall.
Right.
And then 2017 or so, the same dimensions of the tank that I had before, because that tank was getting old, Felix made this tank for me.
So how long has the livestock been in this tank?
Oh, maybe a year and a half.
Year and a half. Awesome.
I lost a lot of stuff when I moved from Fort Lauderdale to Miami.
It's always a bummer, man. All right, so so let's see some of the business then.
All right, so on either side, you see I've got two MP40s here.
Okay. So you got a lot of SPS in there. When I said the business, I'm talking right now about the stuff that matters, which is all the fish and corals and all that beautiful stuff. So you you have a green slimer there and a big old, is that a turbinaria or what is that?
That is a cup coral, and everybody tells me to get rid of it to put more SPS.
Right.
But man, I've had that coral for a good 10, 12 years. I got it. It was the size. It was probably 3-4 inches from size. It would fit in your hand.
Right.
Now I'd say over a foot.
What's that fish right in the foreground right there? Is that some sort of hogfish or what is that? I can't tell.
It's yes. I'm told it's like a lyre tail hog or something. One of my friends went to a wholesaler with me because my daughter was working at a wholesaler. So we went to pick out some fish, and he said, "Eddie, that I've had that fish before. It's an amazing fish. It's now triple the size that it was."
If anybody on the live stream knows what that is, chat in on that and let me know what fish that is because that is a really cool looking fish that I don't really see that often.
The guy, his name is Sander. He's part of our Miami Reefkeepers. It has an amazing tank, and he's the one that said, "Eddie, you got to get that." So I did. So okay, you want to see the corals? You want to
Yeah,
see
no, we're gonna see all the corals and
equipment
fish and all that good stuff first. So you got your,
and then the equipment?
you,
Okay.
you got a cool little African Midas blenny there. You got a Barbonius anthias there. Very
Yeah.
cool.
So this is one side. I got to scrape that chalice off the glass there, as you can see.
I know what that's like, man.
Yeah.
You got a few wrasses zipping in and out too. I see there.
I do. Some acans here.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Are you keeping those green pallies away from the rocks?
You know that's nothing. I have others that I can't get rid of.
That's the problem usually, right? Is like those things take off. That's like that looks like one of those deep water little red Ferraris or something, coral. Those things can grow like a weed, man. I have a huge one in my tank. Very beautiful. Awesome. And little pink zoanthids down there and a little tort up there. What's your favorite SPS coral? Any favorites?
You know, yes, but you know, but it looks like junk right now because I noticed like a week ago it fell in between the rocks.
Mm.
And
Which coral?
It's actually this coral right there in the middle.
Okay.
It's that thing is lime green normally,
Uh-huh.
but it got upset, I guess, after a couple of days of being at the bottom there. And but it's just the color of it is with white light. Actually, I have T5s on right now, so that's why my light is a little light.
So how long have you been running? You know, with this setup as compared to the metal halide?
Middle of last year or so.
So what's the verdict for you? How do you feel?
I love radions. I really do. I had two metal halides in this tank, two 250 metal halides with T5s.
Right.
And what I did was I replaced each metal halide. Actually, no, T5s are not on. I replaced each halide with one radion. And then the T5s, as you see, go front to back.
I see. Okay.
So there's four right there. There's one in each corner.
So usually people run them the other direction, but you're running them transversely.
Because I didn't think I was going to have the space.
I see.
And I have a Reef Bright right here in the front.
Yeah, those are always nice for really making stuff pop. That's where you're getting a little bit of that pop right now is from that Reef Bright, for sure.
Yeah.
I saw a mystery wrasse in there too. Is he a pain in the butt with some of the other fish?
No, not really. He was a pain in the butt when I spent like $250 on Bergia nudibranches for Acacia.
He got an expensive buffet.
We see what happens with this filter off. It's hard to see stuff, so I got to put the filter on.
Yeah, for sure. You got to run the filter.
Yeah.
Thank goodness for the filter.
So yeah, I spent $250 on Bergia nudibranches, and never saw one.
Yeah. And look at that. Your last name is Solar, and you got a Solarensis wrasse. How about that?
Oh, man, that's a nice fish.
Yeah, I love those too.
Right there. That is a nice fish, isn't it?
I love those. I think they're a love-hate fish, though, to be honest with you. I know some people are like, they don't really like them. I have one, and I love it. Absolutely love it. I think it's the coolest thing. That chalice is pretty cool, too, that green chalice there.
That's a Roger Rampage, they call it.
Raja Rampage, yeah, Alien Eye, some call it.
It took me 3 to finally get this. You know, I killed 2 of them.
And the one above, is that like a Miami Hurricane or something?
The one up, you mean this one here? That cap?
Oh, that's a cap. I thought that was another chalice.
No, that's actually what people call the L.A. Laker.
Ah, okay. All right.
That's an LA Laker cap.
So you got to be carving that thing back all the time because it takes over?
You know, not yet, but I think I will have to soon because it's already almost hitting the glass.
All right.
So when I get around to clean the glass with the magnet, it messes things up.
Oh, I know that.
These are the values I was talking to you about that are a pain in the neck.
Yeah, those things, forget it, man. Those things are evil. They're evil in so many ways because then you take them out and then you've got to like dispose of them properly so somebody doesn't die. I mean, they're just bad news, man. Total bad news.
So on this side, I also have 2 MP40s, and then I have a wave there, a Neptune wave, because I wanted to, give the back of the tank some flow.
Flush out some of the back of the tank. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no doubt. Definitely so cool, man. Really cool.
some of
A
these
lot of people
corals
giving you
up here.
props here. You know, I got Cody says great tank. If you guys have any questions out there, please let us know your questions. We're going to take a look at the rest of the gear here underneath, see what makes this thing tick. Edwin Morgado said great tank. Another person said you're my hero or something like that. Said you're my inspiration. Sorry. Wow, I'm jealous.
Dude,
You're my
I'm growing
inspiration.
SPS on the floor of my tank. How many people do you know can do that?
Oh, that's pretty cool. So you're not running bare bottom. I see sand down there, but evidently you kind of are running bare bottom, or
No, it's just you know, I have so much flow here.
right.
I have like 60 time tank, you know, tank volume.
Yeah,
Flow.
flow is so key.
Yeah.
You know, it's what I tell everybody. It's like, you know what? Just keep adding it until right before the flesh peels off the corals, and you're probably in the right spot.
Right. Right. So, but you know, what am I going to do? You know, the
Yeah, the
flow
sand's gonna go everywhere.
gets sand, and you know, I let it be.
Right.
Just like I let corals fight. Look at this. I don't know if you can see
Man of my
it.
heart, Eddie. This is exactly what I do in my tank. It's what I tell people all the time. If you're in there monkeying around trying to prevent that stuff from happening, you're going to create more problems.
It's going to happen.
Yeah. Beautiful
there's nothing
corals.
you can do about it, unless you're a fragger and you know and you sell coral.
Right. For sure.
Then frag it. You know when you know. Once it gets past like a golf ball size, man, you got a colony, don't you?
Yeah, that always cracks me up too. You know, like in my tank, my colonies are about 24 inches across, and so it's like, you know, a colony. You can't call it a colony until it's at least grapefruit size. That's my thing.
You know, it's funny that I get people say, you know, I don't want to get into that because I know that I don't want to go there. A lot of good friends that are fraggers, and you know, it is what it is.
It definitely is.
I sold corals years ago too.
I would have to. You know, in my other tank, I totally think if you can pull it off in order to help support your hobby and still keep a great tank, that's awesome. If I personally think if you go the little extra step and it's the only tank you have and you're carving it all the way back as much as you can, you're kind of missing the enjoyment of really having a lot of big corals in your tank.
Right.
And there's a huge enjoyment to that when you see like your stags in the back, right? And they're still growing, right? And they're gonna fill up the whole back of that tank, and it's just gonna be so awesome, so beautiful. And so when I see like the tanks, you know, I'm not trying to throw shade on anybody, but when I see the fruit stand of a bunch of 2-inch corals that have been chopped off for so long, I'm just like, oh, that's so unfortunate. You know, they could go bigger. All right, so let's see some of the gear that runs stuff down below. What you got going on, man? You know, sump and skimmers and all that good stuff.
Let me open the doors here.
See what your filtration philosophy is.
All right, so you guys saw the full tank shot. I just opened up those 4 doors there in the front.
Okay.
I've also got 2 doors over on this side.
Cool.
So we'll start here because this is where the water comes down from the overflow.
Okay.
This is an ice cap sump.
Okay.
It's prefabricated.
Right.
And basically, you've got the water coming down here. It goes over to 2 filter socks, and some of the water does go back to a little refugium.
Oh, cool. Little place for pods to reproduce and whatnot. That's really helpful, you know.
I've never been able to keep Cato alive in there.
Right.
My nitrates were 0 up until recently. I'm feeding nitrates.
Right.
I can't keep nitrates up.
Right.
And okay, so go to the side here.
But you have a phosphate issue because I see a bottle there.
Yes. I run GFO and charcoal in this little it's a BRS. It's a little
the little reactor, the little BRS reactor. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. The reason I
like mini reactor. Yeah.
You get an extra little refill thing, and then to change this, all you got to do is throw that extra one, open this up, drop that little chamber in there, and close it back up, and you're done. So I run charcoal and GFO, Rowasa.
Rowaphos.
At the same time.
Mm-hmm.
The phosphate E I use when I'm lazy.
Right.
And
you don't change that.
I don't have time to change this thing.
Right.
And I'll just put a little, maybe 20 mLs in there, and just to buy me time.
Yeah, just be careful.
I know lanthanum chloride is, could be a double-edged sword.
Yep.
Again, it might be once a month. Again, when I'm lazy and I don't want to change it.
Right,
So
for sure.
that happens.
What skimmer is that?
That's a this is a
Oh, it's
Royal
Royal
exclusive.
exclusive.
It's a Bubble King,
Right.
something 200. I don't remember the.
How long
It's
you
a
been running
mini
that skimmer?
200. I beg your
How
pardon.
long have you been running that skimmer?
Like 4 or 5 months.
Okay. Is it doing well for you?
Yeah, it is.
I heard they're a little tough to break in the beginning or something like that. Get them tuned or what. But once you get them going,
you,
they're
you
really good.
you have to get the hang of it exactly. There was nothing wrong with the skimmer I had. I had the skimmer from before this one, like for 12 years, and there was nothing wrong with it. It was by a company called Marine Solutions. It was called the MSX 200.
Okay.
But this I found this at a really good price, and I said, I'm eventually going to have to change. So that's the only reason I bought it.
Cool.
I do run a where do I go?
UV. I can see the UV
That's
there.
a UV up there. Does it do anything? I have no idea.
Depending on what the flow rate is on it, it's absolutely doing something. And I do believe that especially for people that have the nutrient or the low nutrient issue that you have, and the possible situation of the dinos and whatnot, that the UV is absolutely helping.
Yeah.
To prevent that from happening. I do. I mean, it's anecdotal from a lot of people, but I'm pretty solid. Now, hey, Henry does have something to say here about your wiring, man. Okay.
Oh, I knew he would.
He's asking me to talk about your trip loops and everything else. Now, look, I'm not going to take you to task. You know why? Because you don't claim to be the wiring master like Henry, right? So I'm not
the opposite. The opposite.
You are the
average. I know my wires are a mess.
You are the average reef keeper, and the only thing I can say is it's okay to have stuff be kind of a mess, but you do still have to realize where water can go. And like I was telling Henry, the drip loop thing is really a big deal on a lot of stuff, even if you have it away from, what you think is away from water, because water will ride those wires right down into the thing. So definitely take a look at that. Looks like you have a CJ pump.
Yes.
Because I see this the new DC pump from
you can't see that down there,
SDC something or other, probably, right?
It's the Syncra 7, I think it is. It's like 1,900 gallons an hour, I think.
Okay.
Before head, I don't know. Maybe that might be at 6. I don't remember. But yes, I've got that. Then the tons of osmolator.
Somebody's asking how big the tank is again, Eddie.
Like 190 or so. It's 5 feet by 30 inches by 24 inches tall.
No, there you have it.
It's 30 inches front to back.
So you're running the Tunzi for the auto top off, right?
I do.
Okay.
This is a Kalkwasser stirrer. I run a calcium reactor, as you can see.
Okay. So that probe that's in your calc stirrer, does that go into your apex?
Yeah, absolutely.
So what is the purpose of that?
That is so that I know when I need to add more Kalkwasser.
Well, how do you know?
Because the pH drops.
I'm asking not because I know. I'm asking because I want you to be telling the audience. That's why we're doing this. So
what happens with a caulk stirrer? A lot of people aren't familiar with caulk stirrers. Basically, what happens here is my sump happens to have in the back there. You see that lid? That is I think it's a 12-gallon reservoir for your fresh water, for your reverse osmosis water.
Right. For your automatic.
So what happens is right. So what happens is that. Let's see if I can demonstrate. No, it's not moving now. There's a little motor here in the top, and what that does is it stirs the Kalkwasser at the bottom.
Right.
So that you always have saturated lime water above it.
Okay.
And what I do, let me continue. So what happens is from that, I've got I don't know if you can see it all the way in the back. I've got a bulk resupply little pump.
Yeah, I see it.
All the way in the back there. Okay.
That's their 1.1 liter.
Yeah. Actually, that's a 50 milliliter.
Oh, it's 50 milliliter one. Okay.
Yeah. So what will happen is every hour, it will take water out of my freshwater reservoir, put it in here.
Okay.
So this thing now the water level rises.
Okay.
And it dumps by gravity into my tank.
Ah, got it. And it's only getting, since it's at the top, it's getting the saturated lime water and none of the powder. And then every once in a while, the apex turns that little stirrer on, and then helps basically make more concentrated lime water. Is that correct?
Correct. I have both of them on the apex.
Awesome.
The little motor that turns the kalkwasser turns on at the 00 mark every hour for 10 minutes. And then at the 20-minute mark, the apex turns on the little pump in the back there for X number of minutes. You use an OSC command for that.
Right.
And
Yeah.
you calculate how much water you want to go in there. For example, I estimated that I had like a 1.75 gallons worth of evaporation a day.
Mm-hmm.
So I start off with 3/4 of a gallon coming out of the pump reactor a day, and then the rest is just regular
regular auto top off, right? So you basically come in at under say 70% or whatever of what your normal usage might be of top off water, and that's what your kalkwasser puts in. And then the remaining whatever it needs to be is picked up by your regular auto top off. Very cool. And you're running kalkwasser why instead of another method?
I did it originally to make sure that my calcium reactor didn't drop my pH too much.
I see.
And having a conversation with Julian Sprung about it, he told me, Eddie, they go together like and basically what he did was he linked his fingers to me. He did like this to me. I don't know if I can show you guys.
Oh, weave his fingers together. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. They work together in many different ways.
Okay.
So I've been doing that since. Then the calcium reactor here. You got the pH probe, the blue top over there.
Right.
That will control when this guy turns on the carbon doser to feed CO2, and that also is run by the apex.
Cool. What do you're using Julian Sprung's media?
I have for the most part, but his media is on back order at the moment.
Yeah, evidently, I guess there's a sourcing issue with the TLF Reborn right now. I use it like 50 pounds of that in my reactor or something like that. So it's definitely an issue. So you have a dual stage reactor there, right? And you also are running Remag in there, I see as well, which is the magnesium supplement inside that reactor, which is also a really cool thing to do. If any of you guys are running a calcium reactor, you run that media inside your calcium reactor, and it'll help boost up your magnesium and require you to have to do less magnesium dosing.
Right.
Very cool.
And then the effluent for the calcium reactor, or what feeds the calcium reactor, is a peristaltic pump.
Correct.
That one right there.
Yeah, you've got one of the Khmer pumps there, and basically, what kind of a flow rate are you running from your calcium reactor?
Right now, it's like 50 mLs a minute.
Okay. Very neat.
Then as we come over to the side here again, I just have a little cabinet here, and over here is the king.
Can't see anything right now. You need to have one of those lights that come on when you open the door with your apex.
It's a trident, guys. A trident. It measures calcium, alkalinity, and magnesium automatically.
He's telling you he has a trident. I don't believe him. They're a unicorn. Nobody has tridents. That's what I've heard. Look at you with your apex just sitting on the table there like that. You're gonna be one of these guys that gets water damage on your apex, and you're gonna say it's not even near the water. I promise you.
Where am I? How's it gonna get water there?
Up. How's it gonna get water in it? Because you splash, or you have water on your hands, or something happens, right? Because and I got to give it to you a little bit because this is going to be a thing now because I gave it to Henry, right? The reason is that the apex is designed like it is with everything coming out the bottom is so that it's virtually impossible for water to go up underneath and go in and hit those circuit boards, okay? That happen to be in there. And so that's why it's mounted that way with a little lever on it so that it hinges up so you can, take a look at what you need to look at when you plug stuff in and then hinge it back down so that even if you were to, give it a little flick of water, the water would run off the edge and never go up into those wires. So it's just one of those things where, mounting stuff, wires are one thing, right? Whether or not you have messy wires, who cares, right? But mounting your things correctly and in the right orientation is super important because it's designed in a way so to bring down the chance of getting water into any of the electronics.
Tomorrow it'll be here. How about that?
There you go, buddy. Awesome sauce. Yeah, well, it's the same thing. I see people with the Energy Bar 832, right? And they have it mounted vertically with the power cord pointing up with all of those one-link connections pointing up, right? And because they don't have space or what have you. And when you do that, you're just saying, please, water, come in here and, get me. That's fine. The way you have it there, that's fine. Upside down, perfect. That's
Yeah.
not a problem. That's
Well, two EV8s and then the 832.
if,
I have nothing plugged to the 832.
I give Henry. I'm gonna give Henry some problems here too. See, Henry, if you mounted your stuff like this, then you wouldn't have to worry about the drip loops, buddy, because it all just goes
Hey,
down. So
there you go. Thank you.
so you got all the gear, all the stuff, and it definitely makes the keeping a reef tank that much easier when you. I mean, a lot of people. I don't know. You tell me what you think about this. Okay, so there's two camps here, right? There's a big group of people that go, KISS, keep it simple, stupid, right? And all this other stuff is superfluous stuff that you're just gonna have to worry about, and it's gonna cause you all sorts of problems. And is it really worth it? That's one camp. And the other camp are people who's like, you know what? I want to enjoy the stuff. This is me, obviously. I work at the company. I want to enjoy the stuff inside the tank, and I want the stuff to take care of the stuff that I don't want to do as much as possible. What's your thoughts on that when you hear those kinds of, both sides of that?
I agree with keep it simple, stupid. Actually, I love that motto in reefing, but that doesn't mean that you can't control stuff. I mean, basically, when I say keep it simple, stupid, I'm talking about putting into your tank every snake oil you see come out every other month.
Right.
Those are the things that bother me.
I agree with you 100%.
Yeah, and you don't have to immediately get into this hobby. And I'm sorry, the next day buy an Apex.
Right.
By no means
Correct.
is that the first thing you need to buy. But it does make things easier. Again, I told you guys that I'm using that caulk reactor, and that thing, stirs for 10 minutes at the top of the hour. Then the little pump pumps the water through it at the 20-minute mark for X number of minutes, calculated so that it gives me 3/4 of a gallon. You can't do that with regular little digital timers.
Yeah. So here's the difference using that one piece of equipment. Since you queued up that piece of equipment, so a lot of people in very simple reef aquariums, and rightly so, use a kalkwasser. Okay, and there are a lot of things you can do with an Apex, and you can really dive deep into it. But the real benefit of all of this is monitoring, right? Knowing what's going on. And there is probably no device where that matters as much as a kalkwasser in the aquarium. Because most people do not have their aquariums that are set up with kalkwasser. Most people, now I know there's going to be a few people on here that'll say, well, I do it just fine, that do it in a way that's entirely safe. And if they don't have monitoring on there and things start to go, upside down, they're not going to know, and your pH in your tank is just going to go through the roof, and you're going to have a big problem with a calc reactor. The way you have it there, you have the ability, the way you have it set up, to stop it from flowing. You have the ability to know when the pH is too high. You have the ability to know when something's going wrong, and therefore you've increased the safety on it, even if you didn't control it, just the monitoring side alone. And that's what I really like to tell people on that, there's nothing complex about just monitoring. All the control stuff and stuff you see, to be honest with you, yours is not keep it simple. It's just not. And that's okay, because it does have the complexity of control of a calcium reactor, the complexity of control of the kalkwasser. All that stuff is awesome, right? And it's the reason why you don't have to mess around with so much and you can enjoy the rest of your aquarium. But definitely monitoring is the way to go. And there's your monitoring. You got your little, is that your iPad or your computer open there? And you got all your stuff.
Yeah. But again, in the keep it simple, stupid model, yes, okay. But it took me 10 years to build this. I started off with an Apex Junior.
Sure, of course.
So it takes years.
But you're monitoring. You're monitoring temp, even with an Apex Junior. That's.
It was no. I'm sorry. It was not Apex Junior. It was an Aqua Controller.
Oh, the original one of the original Aqua Controller 3s or Aqua Controller Junior.
I started off with an AC Junior, then an AC 3, and then I went to my first Apex. But you do it little by little.
Right.
But when you see people immediately flocking to buying the first snake oil that comes out of the market, or
Yeah, I mean the additive stuff is crazy. It really is, and
you know,
I don't add anything really into my tank at all, other than the two-part solution or 3-part or 4-part if I'm running it, and that's really it. I mean, I don't even use the phosphate control stuff. I don't use any of that other stuff. It's all natural, and I think that a lot of that stuff you put stuff in, you don't even know what it's doing, right? You don't even know all the side effects. It kills one algae, but it makes 3 other things thrive or brings dinos or whatever. So, good question here. Jay Fucci says, no automatic water change. How often do you do water changes?
I do automatic water changes.
Okay, and how do you get that accomplished?
You want me to show you?
Absolutely. That's a good
Okay.
segue.
Give me a second. I'm going to my garage.
Awesome. Fouché. Like touche. Okay. Got it there, Jay.
All right.
John
so
Belmonte's joined us too. Awesome.
This is my garage. Got my, my RODI there.
Correct. You got your salt from Julian Sprung's Accuracy. By the way, for those that don't know, Accuracy is the salt that is used to make the calibration solution for the Trident. So we love it that much. It dissolves really, really cleanly. It's one of the cleanest dissolving salts I have ever used.
And it's spot on.
And it's spot on. We put it in, and it goes right to the levels he says it's going to go to. Yep. It is the unsung hero of salts, in my opinion, out on the market today. One bag brings you directly to 50 gallons, I think. They're 50-gallon bags. Is that right?
45 gallons.
Right. So really good salt. Okay, so that's your salt. That's your RO make your thing, and then you go into your.
It goes into this bin here. It's an 85-gallon bin.
Okay.
And when I want to make salt water,
okay,
I open this here valve.
Okay.
It dumps water into the reservoir here.
Mixing container, yeah. Mm-hmm.
This is 55 gallons. So I typically will mix, when it gets to around 45, which is like, maybe a foot from the floor.
Right.
I'll put a bag in of salt. I'll pour water in, and then you see that power cord in the bottom there. That's hooked up to a pump that's in there.
Okay.
And I mix it, 6-10 hours or whatever. Or sometimes I'll leave it on overnight.
Right.
Whatever.
Of course.
If I want to do a big water change, I will hook up a garden hose right here. Turn that valve while the pump is on.
Okay.
And get a garden hose and take it into the tank. I didn't show you guys, but I have a valve that opens up at the bottom of the sump that dumps water out of the tank.
Okay.
So as I'm dumping water out, I'm putting new water in.
Very cool.
Okay, so as far as automatic water changes, you'll see at the bottom there. There's a. You see the line there?
Yep, I can see it.
Okay, keep that in mind. I'm going to show you another one.
Okay.
See that line there at the bottom of the RO? Okay, that one feeds my reservoir for ATO.
Okay.
I have a valve over there at the tank.
Okay.
This one at the bottom is obviously the salt water that will go.
The fresh salt water, the new salt water.
Fresh salt water, right. And all those lines go behind the walls there, behind the washer and dryer.
Of course.
And I'm currently using something called the Stenner pump.
Okay.
And don't get mad at me.
I'm not getting mad. Everybody uses their own methods, man.
I had this pump before the dose came out.
That's fine.
That's how long I've had it. I've had this pump for probably eight or 9 years, and I'm still using the same thing.
It's a great pump.
I changed it too. It's a great pump. It's loud as heck.
Yeah.
But that's why I keep it here.
Yeah, I mean, the dose at high speed is loud as well. I mean, there isn't a peristaltic pump that runs at 200 milliliters per minute that's not going to make noise that I've heard, unless it's a huge one, like 2 foot around or something.
Right.
But the Stenner pumps are great pumps, and so because it's got 2 heads on there, the assumption is that it's going to be pumping the same amount out as it's pumping in. And that's generally the case as long as your tubing is fresh and basically the same age in both of them.
Correct.
You won't get much differential between the two. Very cool.
Right. So obviously, one takes water out and the other one pumps water in.
And you have that a switch on that, or you just plug it in when you're ready to go?
Oh no, it's hooked up to the apex.
Of course. Okay.
Yeah. It turns on at 7:30 in the morning and then 7 o'clock at night. And I don't remember it's
Yeah,
75 gallons per day. So
you've created you figured out how much it does and how much time, and then you've created
right,
a
right.
timer to do it.
So X number of minutes. So the blue line here that goes, where the filter socks are, right there, that takes the water out.
Okay.
It dumps it outside, and then the new water comes into the return area down there.
Yeah, and this is what makes enjoying your reef tanks so much better. I mean, the more of this kind of stuff you can have, again, this is where I was saying between the two camps of, well, keep it simple or don't keep it simple. And clearly this is not simple, but it makes your life so much more enjoyable on all the things you want to do, right? Who wants to lug water or even lug that hose in here? It just happens for you. Very cool.
That valve that I'm trying to show you guys there with the white handle. That valve there is the one that opens
to dump,
right here.
So you can dump salt water out of your sump.
Dump water out, yep. And this here is the little valve that will take water from the fresh reservoir into my
ATO container. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Awesome.
So yeah, but but that's okay. You're saying this isn't simple, but there are simple concepts. Well, and they do take time to set up and things like that.
Yeah, but the people I'm talking about, they would not consider this simple. They would consider simple that for an automatic top off that you come in, with a pitcher of water every day. I mean, that's the extreme, right? But certainly there's two camps, and I love seeing where people can come together with all this gear in order to take I would say the hassles out of reef keeping so that the enjoyable things that you want to do can happen, and also keep this consistency, right? Because that's what's really key, right? Is having that consistency, that stability in your reef tank that a lot of these processes that you showed us here today actually keep, right?
Right.
Yeah, absolutely, man. So
yeah.
Great job. Congrats on the tank, and thanks for joining us today and giving everybody a peek into there. It's
my pleasure.
It's the average guy's aquarium. A lot of people look at some of these gigantic things on YouTube and everything, and it's just not attainable. Like 570-gallon tank or whatever, and that's not attainable, right? For a lot of people. But what you have there is an absolutely attainable situation. Anybody can be successful with the right gear and the dedication, and you've done it, man. It looks awesome.
Yeah.
So,
a lot of years of dedication.
Jay Fauché, we're going to leave with another couple of questions here. Jay Fauché said, you mentioned Aptasia. How do you get it taken care of? If so, how?
At the moment I have like 4 Aptasia. There was a time where I had like 20, and that's when I bought the Bergia and Nudibranchs, because a lot of them were in a difficult area to get to. So I figured, they're expensive as heck, but I've seen them work in my previous tanks before.
Right.
And I knew I was taking a risk by, I don't know I'm not good with fish names.
Okay.
But the mystery wrasse, whatever species that is,
right,
they're known to eat all these little crustaceans.
Yes.
So I knew I was taking a risk when I bought them. And I did that because I tried and they work. Aptasia X works. Joe's Juice works. But
I like the natural things. I have a marginalis butterfly. I have a filefish. And between the two of them, I never have any of those problems, So
I was going to try a filefish, but I couldn't find one. So
right, yeah. My approach to I take a kill it with fire approach, like on just like nuke everything in there. So I'll throw everything in at once when I have that kind of a problem. If you can get a copper band or a marginalis butterfly, if you can get the Aptasia eating filefish, get a couple of them. Worst case, they're super slow and stupid. You can pull them out if they have any problem with them. I've never had a problem with them, and they'll eat as long as you keep them fed. If you're one of these people that are stingy on feeding your tank, those fish are going to eat other stuff in your tank. But if you feed your tank a lot, which you should, by the way, if you want to grow coral, then they will absolutely eat up all of that Aptasia or the Majano anemones for sure. So that's how I take care of it. Let's see. And the last question here we're going to have today is from Lulio, okay, who joined us here. Lulio Vasquez. So we all know who Lulio is in the Miami scene. And Lulio asks, where did Eddie get a haircut in quarantine?
Well, there might be a reason why Miami-Dade County is one of the worst in the state of Florida. I had a guy come to my house.
Well, there you have it, everybody. So thank you so much, Eddie, for coming on board, and thank you all of you for joining us for another Control Freak Wednesday again. We'll be on again in 2 weeks, especially if somebody from the Miami Reefkeepers wants to join us. They've been good for the last 2 so far. They've got some great tanks out there, but definitely welcome anybody else out there. If you want to have yourself featured, you want to show everybody what you're doing, give some insight, give back to the reef keeping community by telling them what stuff has been successful for you, then we'll do it on Control Freak Wednesday. Send me a note on Facebook, send to Neptune Systems a note, and we'll get it. We'll get you on the show. And until next time, hey, it's another episode of Control Freak Wednesday. Thank you, Eddie, so much, and everybody
Thank you for having
out
me.
there. Take care.